Morning, good morning. It's Wednesday, so 2 days before Scotland versus Germany kick us off for Euros 2024. So let's have a look at a few different lines ahead of the tournament. Now, first things first, hands up. Small mistake was made for bookie bashing members that saw the tracker last night. Not a huge one. There's always a little bit of confusion around whether bookmakers apply the same rules across different markets, okay? Especially like tournament markets. Generally, they're the same in the match. So in bookie bashing, how it works is we have a team that covers most of the waking day and quite a lot of the night, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. One of the team put some bets up last night and maybe didn't notice that a few of the bookmakers have different rules, which can be easy to miss. Not a big mistake. And I'll tell you what, this guy that puts them up, I would trust him to take my bankroll and double it. He's pretty good at what he does. He makes a lot of money, outside of bookie bashing with his professional betting. So he knows what he's doing. I often go to him with questions I have on edges and angles and particular bits of mathematics. So it was a minor mistake and not one that's really going to sort of, make much difference because he put some bets up. They were all very good. Some of them had slightly different rules, but even when you apply those different rules, they're still good for the most part. So what were the bets? We were looking at goals, cards, corners and headed goals in the Euros 2024. And you can generally find at any tournament decent value in standard markets at different bookmakers because there's generally a wide breadth of opinion about how many goals, cards, corners there's going to be. Now, you could go and calculate how many goals, cards and corners you think there's going to be yourself. I had a look at Euros 2020 and there were 142 goals in total, of which 7 of which came in extra time. So 135 90-minute goals. Now, you could apply something similar this year. You could maybe think there's going to be more or less, or you could steal, if you like, the lines from elsewhere. You could go to Bet365 and reverse engineer the lines that they've got up. You could go to the spreads. I like particularly going to the spreads. It's not a bad benchmarking place. And so we went to the spreads, and they've got 485 corners, 141.5 goals, 197 yellows, 7.5 reds. All of those include extra time. And if we looked at the numbers that were going to appear just at extra time, 15 corners, 3.4 goals, 6 yellows and 1 reds. So we can get our 90-minute markets from that as well. I'm going to post underneath this video just the table of those 90 minutes and extra time markets. So you can now go to the bookmaker and you could go and use a Poisson calculator. So equals bracket Poisson.disc. And then you put in your mean and your target, and you can do that in Excel and you can get a probability. Or you can use a Poisson calculator on the Bet Builder, Bookie Bashing if you've got one, or any other online tool if you don't. And you can put your mean in. Now, for using something like the spread, you might consider the midpoint, you might consider the sell or the buy. I quite like 25% bias towards the sell. I think that's a little bit more, given other analytics that we've done, it's a little bit more likely because I think a lot of people are going for the over there. But, you could go the midpoint, you could go exactly the sell. Generally, when we're looking at quite large numbers, you should be betting at an EV where it doesn't make too much difference anyway, okay? So using those lines, our member of BB team had a scout around and found some good bets and put them up on the tracker. And these were headed goals at Bet365, goals at Bet Goodwin, goals at QuinnBet, goals over 140 goals at Bet365, over 6 red cards, over 193 yellow cards, using the spreads average, right? Now, what we didn't immediately see, and it's difficult to miss, is that some bookmakers include extra time and some do not, and they're not even consistent, right? Which is just brilliant. So Bet365 We've drilled down into their rules. For goals, they do include all of extra time, but for corners and cards, they don't. Why would they do that? Don't ask me, right? Do not ask me, but they don't. Excuse me, the puppy's chewing my thermometer for my laser. I need to get one for my son the other day, and I went into the chemist, and then when I saw it was like 30 quid, I said, I don't think I need one because I've got a thermometer for my pizza oven, so why would I need one? To which he said, well, the one from the chemist is calibrated for a human body temperature, and my pizza oven one is calibrated for 500 degrees, which made sense to me, and so I parted with the 30 quid. By the by, so in terms of goals, Bet365 do include the goals. So we put a bet up, really good bet, over 140 goals. At 6-4 should be odds on. We're happy with that. You could also get 6-4 at QuinnBet and Bet Goodwin, but here's where it gets slightly interesting. Despite the fact that it's 6-4 for over 140 goals at Bet365 and 6-4 for over 140 goals at Bet Goodwin and QuinnBet use different rules. They say that winning bets, occurrences in a league or cup competition, total goals, predict the number of total goals calculated up until the end of normal time in each match. Same line, same 6-4, but different rules. Bet365 does include extra time, QuinnBet does not. We had that up at 2.5 and odds on. If you take away 3.4 goals, you've still got a good bet. It's 2.4, not 1.89. So at 6-4, it's still a bet. It's still a plus EV bet. It's just not as good, right? And that was generally the case for every bet that we put up. Every bet that we put up was plus EV still. When we recalculated it, it's just not as good. Although a couple of them still included the extra time markets, like the Bet365 overheaded goals and the Bet365 over goals. There was one bet, which was the corners, which was still good if you recalculated, but now has drifted. The line has changed, and so now is bad. So that's now bad through a combination of the fact that they don't include extra time, but also the line has drifted. If the line hadn't drifted, it would still be good. Mistakes happen. I apologise for these bets not being as good as initially put up. However, it's something, if we don't test ourselves and push ourselves and try new things and encourage new things, then we never break through into new ground, We do track the performance of every bet we put up on the tracker, whether we change it or decide to remove it, we still put it up in the results and the overall ROI. And mistakes count for less than 1 in 100 bets that go up. And as I say, they allow us to go and explore new different markets and everything like that. And it's an easy one. Anyone could have done it. I'm fairly surprised that the rules are different even in the same markets between the different bookmakers who have the different lines up. The exchanges have now put these markets up, and we had a look at the rules at the exchanges and they were not clear. So we've asked the exchanges to clarify, and they should. Just be slightly careful if you're betting at the exchanges, unless you're confident of absolutely massive EV. Unless you know exactly whether they're including extra time or not, because it could get a little bit messy if it's bang on the money right at the end. It's the difference between a winning and a losing bet. You wouldn't want to have a lot of liability on that, okay? So underneath this video, I've listed the bets that we put up, the original fair odds and the new fair odds, just for total transparency there. So if you want to go and have a look for value yourself, and somewhere like William Hill, your odds are quite a good place to go and look. We often historically have found some decent lines there. Find a way of benchmarking it. So do you want to look at the previous tournament and add a little bit on for maybe changes in injury time at the end of a half? You could do that. Do you want to just go and take the lines from Bet365 or the spreads or something like that and use that? Plug them into a Poisson distribution calculator, and then see if you can find value out there in the requested bets and the your odds. There's plenty. There always is plenty. They're good fun, these tournament bets. Another one to look out for is Golden Boot and top goal scorer. Now I'm a little bit I'm a little bit confused, I'm not going to lie. And I've actually contacted a couple of different bookmakers to see if I could talk about why my numbers are so different. And my numbers are so different, I have not put any of these bets up on the bet tracker because my confidence is a little bit low as to what is going on here. If you look at top goal scorer, there probably is a golden boot on odds checker, but if you look at top goal scorer, you will see that every single bookmaker is just copying each other. Lukaku is 13 at Sky Bet, Paddy Power, William Hill, 888 Sport, Betfair Sportsbook, Bet Victor. Have all of those traders independently made Lukaku 13? Or are they all copying each other? Puppy, can you stop chewing stuff, please? Say hello. Mwah. But come on, because all I can hear is chewing in the background. Off you go. Try and just do something that involves not chewing something. Right. So I don't go at modelling it myself. I took all of the expectancies and I put them into a Skellum calculation. And I came out with some figures that were pretty similar to what was at the exchanges and the bookmakers, but with the exception of some really big bets. And they were so big, I was like, I don't understand what's going on. Like, it would make every bookmaker plus EV. And sometimes when every bookmaker is plus EV, you've got to turn around, and the exchange, by the way, you've got to turn around and ask, well, what's wrong here? Is it my modelling that's wrong, or is it the bookmaker that's wrong? So let's have a look at the exchanges. And the exchanges were plus EV as well, and still are, to be fair. So I was very, very confused. Now, in terms of the EV is for players mostly in the hundreds. So we've got Ilkay Gundogan, Chiesa, Eriksen, Virgil van Dijk, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Mitrovic, all looked 120% EV or higher. But it was a couple of players that stood out for me. Griezmann and mostly Cristiano Ronaldo, who I make down in the 13-2, 6-1 range with his 2.5 goals. And the exchanges were up at 15, 13.5, and I couldn't explain why. So I went and took a load of 15, but I wasn't confident about this, and I didn't put it up on the site. And I started talking to other traders. I was like, would you just be laying a bad price on Cristiano Ronaldo? But why would you do that? Because normally these popular players at the top of the market, like, you don't lay good prices on them. You lay bad prices on them on purpose because you're taking money on these guys. You don't allow your customers to, you wouldn't allow your customers to profit where the most volume is coming through. So it doesn't make any sense. And I was like, are they just bringing people in, or have I done something wrong? Well, since I got him at 15, he's into 11, 11.5. He's still got a way to go to get down to the 13-2 that I think he should be. Now, there is a difference between Golden Boot and Top Goal Scorer. Top Goal Scorer has dead heat applied to it. And last tournament, Patrick Schick and Ronaldo both got 5 goals. I think 3 of Ronaldo's were penalties and 1 of Schick's were penalties. It's always worth having an eye on who's taking penalties in each team. And by the way, both of those teams, I think neither got past the quarterfinals. So they don't have to get to the final to win. They just have to have a team that concentrates their goals through one player. And last night, Portugal were playing somebody. Ireland? Yes, Ireland. They got 3 goals. It was João Felix getting 1, Ronaldo getting the other 2. I just really like Ronaldo to get top goal scorer again or golden boot again. So I'm all over him. I think he should be 13-2, 6-1, somewhere around there. I don't think Portugal need to win it, even though they're 4th or 5th favourites. And the 11.5 that's available for Golden Boot on the exchange is a bet, as far as I'm concerned, for top goal scorer. The 13, the 12, the 11, the 15 at Betway, if you can get it. I mean, I think the 15 Betway is insane. So that's what I'm betting on. And then I've had a couple of player of the tournaments, Declan Rice being one of them. mostly, and this is a very cheesy and non-scientific way of doing things, I've simply gone onto a odds comparison site, and I've had a look at whether any shop bookmakers are pretty top pricey on any particular players, and I've just gone out and sniped them. No major analytics going into that, but sometimes you just got to do things that are pretty simple, and there's some value out there at William Hill and at Betfred, who are the two bookmakers that you can sort of go and have a look at their online top prices, and you'll be able to get most of those in shop. Not all of them, there's some deviation, but you can get some of them. So yeah, just a little video there. Some tournament stuff like goals, corners, cards, they can be calculated. Just get your hands on an expectancy and use Poisson calculation. And what is going on with Cristiano Ronaldo in top goal scorer in Golden Boot? I can't explain it. If I had to argue, I was talking to Duncan about this. If I had to say, is every bookmaker overpriced or am I wrong? Then the natural thing would be to say that I'm wrong. So I then modeled it a second time using a completely different analysis. I used a Monte Carlo analysis for the second run, and I got exactly the same results. And then the argument is, well, is the input wrong? Because if you're getting two analyses, both are giving the same results, but those results don't make any sense, is it now the input problem? The inputs were absolutely fine as well. So can't explain it to you. I'm not a hero, but if Ronaldo is top goal scorer in this tournament, then we're going to Disneyland.